Watching Capital City Sunday.
Democrats are pledging to be less reactionary to Donald Trump's presidency this time around, but some were vocal in their opposition to his executive orders, and they have yet to come together on where the party's focus should be over the next 4 years. Joining me on the show this morning is Libby Schneider, spokesperson for the Democratic National Committee. Libby, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Darrielle. Happy to be here.
How are Democrats responding to President Donald Trump's executive orders to roll out mass deportations and increase restrictions at the southern border?
Yeah, I think anybody who's been watching the news knows that it's been a whirlwind first week of the Trump presidency, where we have seen more of the same from Donald Trump, chief chaos agent in charge here of this operation. And I think the executive orders on Tuesday outlined, the flurry of executive orders on Tuesday outlined that his priorities are not, in fact, with people and working people in Wisconsin or across the country, but are in the pocket of billionaires, frankly. In terms of immigration on the border, Democrats have been talking about immigration and joining bipartisan coalitions to get infrastructure, to get border funding secured. In fact, we had a bipartisan bill that was at the finish line last year that would have done, with real meat in it, that would have helped solve some of our immigration issues. And President Trump tanked it. He called up his friends on Capitol Hill and said, don't vote for that bill. It's bad for me politically because you're getting things done. And so this is more distraction, more a Band-Aid, more sort of chaos from him, and I think is a good prelude to what we can expect over the next 4 years.
But I want to get your thoughts. What do you have to say to Republicans who argue the people elected President Donald Trump knowing immigration reform was a key focus of his campaign? Absolutely.
I think people also elected him because they can't afford groceries, or because, the gas was too expensive in the tank. I think he campaigned as a populist president and had some of the richest people in the world, multiple billionaires, 12 billionaires at his inauguration. So I would say that what President Trump campaigned on and what he has governed on in this first week are two very, very different things.
The Lake and Riley Act has passed through the House and Senate with bipartisan support from Democrats. Are Democrats planning to work more closely with the president in his second term?
I think Democrats come to the table with the opportunity to serve their constituents. That's what we want to do. That's what these folks were elected to do. And I think anything that can serve their constituents, that will bring them to the table on bipartisan deals. We have a history of working across the aisle to get things done for Americans. And often we aren't the obstruction to a bipartisan agreement on something. So I will say, I think, anything that helps serve their constituents. Every state is different, as you guys know. But Democrats are always willing to work across the aisle to find solutions for the American people.
And Libby, President Trump also signed off on a series of executive orders last week that terminated diversity, equity, and inclusion programming mandates and policies across federal departments and agencies. A separate order also placed all officials overseeing DEI efforts across the federal government on administrative leave. Your thoughts on those proposals, and is the DNC or congressional Democrats planning to challenge these actions?
Yeah, I can't speak for congressional Democrats, but I can say, I just emphasize, I'm not sure what eliminating DEI programs in the federal government does to make folks' eggs cheaper, or milk less expensive, or be able to fill up their grocery carts without questioning what other bills they have to pay. That's what folks voted for, and these actions are just more of the same to say, this is what our priority is, these, hot flash in the pan things that really appeal to the extreme end of one party, and not actually making things better for working people in Wisconsin or the United States.
While the next election is nearly 4 years away, Democrats lost the White House and Senate and remain in the minority in the House. Is the Democratic National Committee planning to revisit its approach to campaign efforts and its current strategies to engage voters?
Sure. I think anytime you are dealt a loss, you would be committing malpractice if you don't go back to the playbook and see what's working and what's not. But I will say that this Democratic National Committee is in an incredibly strong position to fight back. And the election, there are no off years in the DNC. You said the election's in 4 years. I will say the next election for us, we're going to have congressionals, but also April 1st in Wisconsin, we've got a huge state Supreme Court race with an extremist rubber stamp candidate on the Republican side. So we are constantly working no off years all the time. But of course, we reevaluate what works and what doesn't. But what I know is that Donald Trump talks a lot about a mandate. And what this first week has shown me is that he got a different message from the voters than the rest of us did. And so I would say that he needs to look at his playbook, too.
Libby Schneider, Chief of Staff for the Democratic National Committee. Libby, thank you so much again for joining us this morning.
Thank you, and always happy to talk to someone in my favorite Midwest city of Madison. Don't tell Chicago.